Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Freedom Flight Ignite, and this is your host, Talia Riley. This is episode 24, and the title is I'm Not for Everyone. So it's been just a minute since I've been on this podcast. I've been so grateful. For those that haven't heard, I've been able to launch a new podcast called Creating Confident Communication. And it's been a wonderful way to be able to collaborate with many people who have been experiencing whatever they've gone through, whatever kind of growth, pain, trials, to be able to become confident leaders and speakers and communicate their message. So there's been a lot of really wonderful things that I've been able to share there. And so if you haven't been able to hear, go jump on to Creating Confident Communication. You'll absolutely love it. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. It's on pretty much everything. So feel free to jump on over and subscribe. So for today, though, I kept thinking about some things that I've been working through and thought, you know what better way than to be vulnerable and to get out there and share it on the podcast. And with everything that's going on, I'll probably only be posting like once a month or twice a month on this podcast, but I plan on continuing because there's still some golden nuggets that I've been learning along the way that I want to share. So as for the title, I'm Not for Everyone. What do you think of that? Have you ever had that feeling or that thought that, you know what, there's some people that you just don't align with? And for me personally, and getting kind of vulnerable, I've always kind of said this to some people and my clients that I passed on the disease, and that was the disease to please to my kids. But I haven't really passed it on to them in the fact that you can heal from diseases, and I've been able to heal from that thought and that mentality that I want all people to like me and I want to please all people. And I'm just really grateful for the experiences that I've had to show up, that sometimes not all people are for me. They're not all my people, and that is okay. So sharing a little bit of experiences and thought processes with you. It's been interesting as I've been working on growing my business and, coming out of my own shell and doing my own inner work. I've had a lot of stuff come up, and I share this with you because I think every time we have some kind of growth in our life, sometimes we experience sometimes the same amount of pain, sometimes even more right before we take those steps and have those growth. And I would love to know, in the comments when you guys subscribe to this, and it'll also be on YouTube, tell me if you've resonated with this, because many of us sometimes feel like we've hit rock bottom and there is nowhere else to go. Like we've hit it all. And sometimes that's right before the greatest and the most incredible growth that we could ever experience. And I've kind of learned this throughout my life. So what I have seen is that as I've tried to step forward in my business and I've tried to step forward, there's just so many things. I actually never knew that entrepreneurs and speakers and leaders and people that are working on business were like a jack of all trades. I've been able to learn how to create a website. I've been able to try to ask a lot of questions about doing promo videos. I've been learning how to, create one sheets for speaking, and things that I never even could dream of doing before. How to do a podcast and equipment. And some of my podcasts sounds like echoey and not super amazing. But guess what, guys? I'm totally imperfect and perfectly normal in the fact that I'm just trying. I'm trying all different kinds of things to see what works, and that it's really not about perfection. I had a wonderful leader teach me that it's about progression over perfection. We're constantly learning and growing and building upon. And the thing that I want to share with that is we don't have to be so hard on ourselves. So what? Maybe we start doing things simply, and it's not our best. But what I had another dear friends and many people just say, guess what, guys? C work is better than perfect. B minus work is better than not done at all or failing. I think someone said, what if you could get to your last days and said, well, I wanted to do all of these wonderful things and accomplish so much in my life, but I was too afraid. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to write a book, or I didn't know how to speak or share my message or do a blog or create the cookie business that you want, or the jewelry line, or you wanted to decorate homes, or, design clothes. Guys, whatever it is that you feel called to do and passionate about, it's probably because it's already in you. You would never ever think the thought that you could do something so outrageous and amazing if it wasn't part of who you are. So I hope you hear that. When you think that thought, I cannot remember what book I read that on, but when you think the thought in your head that you could create an amazing, like, automated business, or that you could, decorate homes for a living, or that you could write a book or be an amazing speaker, the thought would never have entered in your mind if it weren't already part of who you are meant to be and become. So I want you to just kind of soak that in and say, it's already who you are. And if you ever find that you're getting triggered with other people that are doing it, it's probably because you see in them qualities and traits that you desire in yourself, that maybe you're not moving forward as fast as you want to. So I just encourage you to look at those people as gifts, and whatever triggers that show up with other people, oftentimes there are things that you're still working through. I had a client say the other day, I was coaching her and working with her, and she said, this keeps coming back. It's like I need a PhD to discover, to get through this problem. And I laughed because I could relate. I said, I realize, though, it's not that this problem might be the greatest gift that we've ever experienced, because I have one too, and mine's different than hers. But what I've realized is this is actually a gift for me to be able to realize that I'm still learning. I'm still gathering information. I'm still not done learning what I'm supposed to learn from whatever that is. And when I do, it will be amazing. And I'll get through it and it'll be awesome. But right now I'm still gathering the information to help me become even better. So I'm grateful for those trials. For mine personally, it's like all my control issues. Like, I've always had control issues with the foods I eat and the way I want things done, or how I want my kids to show up, or how I want to look and be perceived. It's my own stuff. So as I've let go and tried to surrender that control piece and that certainty, like wanting to have it a certain way, I feel so much more at ease. It's almost like I'm more in that flowing into who I want to become, rather than forcing or plowing my way through. So I'm not sure how that resonates with you, but getting kind of back to where I was about all of this, that I'm not for everybody, is I'm learning through this process as I'm becoming better, as I'm becoming a better version of who I want to be. And I've kind of, as I've been doing some of my teaching, I talk to people about being stuck in that stuck self, and then being able to soar in that best self. And so being aligned with who you're meant to be. And that's how I feel when I'm speaking to people, and when I'm writing my books, and when I'm trying to become better. That's how I feel. I feel in alignment. But what I've realized, I learned this from Brene Brown. I was going through some situations where people had some opinions about me and were sharing some things that weren't true, and they didn't come to me about it. But what I realized is, how do I want to show up? My first nature was to be like angry and come at this person and like yell about it. But my second piece was, maybe there's something I can learn from this. Like, what part am I learning about what's showing up right now, the new person I'm becoming? How do I want to react? Do I want to be that pushy, kind of control certainty way? Or do I want to let go and just be in gratitude for the relationship that we had, for the things that I learned, for the things that showed up in my world, for the connection? And I choose to be in gratitude, because when I think of all, and that sometimes is the hardest, when it's someone we trust and someone that we really respect. And even if we're like expecting them to show up a different way, to communicate a different way, or to respond and show up for the needs that we're looking to have filled. Because the truth I've learned with my other podcast, in communication, people don't always want to have those hard conversations. People would rather hide behind an email, or not respond, or, not ghost you on a text or text it out rather than talk. Or they much easier than answering a phone call, they text. So I'm just finding it's just the new world that we're in. And sometimes we may not have all the closure that we want or that we need. But what I've realized the most from this is when people fall out of alignment with me, it's just time. It's no offense. We're all moving and we're all growing at different paces. And sometimes we're aligning with certain people on our mission and certain things. And when things fall out of our life, it doesn't need to be that it's the most horrible thing or we've done something wrong, or if people fall out of our life. I look at it as that good, better, best. There's so many things that we can put with our time that are good, and there's things that are better. But what is the absolute best to be aligned? For me, that is trying to put myself up in that category of my top 3, trying to put my higher power up there for me. And the third one is my husband of 25 years. I love my kids, and believe me, they're up there. But when I start to just put everything, my business or my kids, everybody before my husband and myself, it's kind of like not putting on that mask of the airplane that we need to breathe and survive. But when I fill up my own cup and I'm kinder to my husband, which I work on all the time, because sometimes my energy level's way down and I don't feel like I have that energy for him. But then I know I'm pushing it in too many other areas. But what I'm trying to say is when I put those top 3 first in my life, then other things that aren't as important will fall away. And sometimes that's people. Sometimes that's a relationship. Sometimes that's a job. In some cases, that's a marriage. In other cases, that's a coworker or someone that we're working with. And another one, it could be a client that you guys are parting ways. There's so, it could be even you're feeling estranged from a family member or having issues with your in-laws. These are things that sometimes fall out, but we can continue doing the work. We can't change how other people show up or how they respond, but we get to choose how we show up. We get to choose if we choose to see the silver linings. It was my 25th anniversary this last week on Monday, and today is Friday. And it was just absolutely amazing because celebrating 25 years with TJ, my husband, has been a wonderful thing. And there's been so many ups and so many downs and so many trials and so many wonderful things, right? You've had the highs and the lows. Anyone who's been married 25 years, if they say that it's been peaches and cream, I can't even imagine, because maybe for some people it has. But for me personally, we've tried to learn how to align with kids. He was raised a certain way. I was raised a certain way. So trying to raise children, sometimes with different views on, whatever it looks like in your life. It could be religion. It can be money, the way you save or spend. It can be, aligned with thoughts. I want to say there are so many times, even with my own husband, that he is a strong personality and I'm a strong personality. And sometimes we don't always see eye to eye, but we've tried to learn how to be able to communicate and how to let go of the things that just aren't important. And so I recommend that, not saying to let go of all these important relationships in your life, but choose to put yourself up there first. Choose to put whatever that looks like, if it's a higher power, if it's a spouse, if it's your kids, whatever you choose to put in your circle. But know, like my husband always says, you can do anything you want in this world, but you can't do everything. So learning balance in all things. And as you do that, I really believe that proper things will come in alignment with your life, and the things that are meant to fall away will. If there's certain people that are meant to fall away, they will. And we can grieve that process and we can be upset, or we can just choose to be truly in gratitude for the time, for the things we've learned, for the people that have showed up. And I can't remember what story I heard this on, but I think it was in a book, and I always love to give credit where credit's due. So it's definitely not mine, but it was about like a bus. And there was someone talking about the bus stop to one of their kids. And they said, life is kind of like a bus stop. And it could have even been like on social media, but it said certain people get on the bus, and some of them are on that bus for a stop or two, or a block or a mile. And some of those people stay on your bus for the whole ride and the whole journey. And how grateful I am for those that are on my journey and on my bus for the whole ride and the whole journey, because they're far and few between. It's like those good friends and those true friends and certain family members, but just being in gratitude for the interaction we had with the one person that we met that came on the bus stop for a certain reason, and then they got off the bus. And the next one that stayed on for miles when we were struggling with this area of health in our life, or loss of a child, or whatever it was, and then they got off the bus. They gave us everything we needed. And as we think of that kind of flow, that circle of life, people come in and people come out. It's like a give and receive cycle. We know that we're here to sometimes jump on people's buses too and help out. So as we think about that, we don't have to have the negative thoughts around, I'm not for everybody, I'm not for all people, because we're meant to show up and be in people's world for certain times, and maybe sometimes not at all. And that's okay. So I'm just grateful to be able to share this with you today. I've been able to do so much growing and growth, and I'm trying to get more people to get on my Instagram and like my new page, which is at Creating Confident Communication. I'm also working to be able to work with amazing people that are looking to grow in their life and up level, that want to learn how to soar to freedom and success. So if you're looking for that, I have group coaching that I do once a week. I have opportunities to go and speak for businesses with webinars on being able to create more confident communication. And I just love to empower and help people. So I just want you to know that I love you, that life is never completely always perfect and always going in a straight line. Sometimes we go off the route back and forth and back and forth. Sometimes we get to a mountain that there's no way we think we can climb. And we get up that mountain and we start climbing and climbing, and we think we're doing so awesome. And all of a sudden we stumble and we fall all the way back down. And we think to ourselves, I've hit rock bottom. I fell off the mountain. I bashed my back. I'm laying on the ground. There's no way that I can get back up. But when we go down, when we fall down, because we all fall down, it's a choice to get back up. And sometimes that next step, or the next step up that mountain, maybe there's an elevator waiting. Yes, how awesome would that be? But the truth is, you get to decide if you get back up. And sometimes when we think we've hit rock bottom and we've had enough and the trials feel too heavy, we can choose to rise up, to soar, and who knows what's waiting. And I had a friend send me an amazing podcast today with a friend, and and part of the question was to ask big, to think big, right? And to be able to say, what could I ask for in my life? What am I able to receive? Because it's not just like trying to get by and suffer through. Like, what awesome, awesome blessings and things can come up in my life if I ask big and if I think big. So I want to leave you with that sometimes you're not for all people. Not everybody is for you. There's certain things that come in and come out of your life, but nothing's gone wrong. There's nothing that's gone wrong. It's all part of the process of our learning and our growth. And if we choose to be in gratitude for every person and every experience and all of the relationships that have come to help us become better, that's where we want to be. So I want to leave you today with this. If you haven't hopped on to the Creating Confident Communication, jump over there. I want you guys to know that I love you. Please, please, if you get a moment to leave a review on that new podcast, that would be absolutely amazing. We just launched it like a month ago. So we'll look forward to talking to you next week. And remember, it's your choice to be free, to have freedom, to take flight, and to ignite in your life. I love you, and I'll see you next week.